Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is May the 5th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Happy Cinco de Mayo if you celebrate. Hopefully you're having a nice one. Hopefully you're tying off a good drink or two. Hopefully you've had a good day. My day was good. It was a solid day. We got up, we got ourselves together, we took ourselves to work, and work was pretty good. I thought I was going to run out of work and have to go upstairs, even to the point where I got my RF gun and I was ready to go. But everything lined up where I got the work and the work came through. So I got to stay at the Crusher all day. So we love to see it. Thumbs up for that. After work, we went to the gym. Gym was good. I'm trying to think what I got into. There really wasn't any free benches, any Smith machines. So, bit of a toss up, but since I've condensed my workouts, it kind of just makes it easier to say, hey, I'm going to do like X amount of sets, a little upper, a little lower. And then we kind of make that work for hopefully about 15 to 20 minutes. If I can make it 30, great. I go up to, the second floor, do some core work, come back down, do some cardio. And the cardio was good. I did about 30 minutes, so that's solid. And after that, I got myself home, did my stretch, had my snack, and did some research. And now I'm ready to yap. Let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into the news. I will say, before we get actually into the news, I did want to have a little bit of a book corner. Just because I started a new book today. Well, I will say I just literally just started it before I ran out of, points to listen to audiobooks or whatever on Spotify. So I'm like, I love that for me. But I should be getting back up in a week or two. But I started a new book, Butter, which I got to say so far, it intrigues me. It's giving true crime. It's got a little bit of a journalism flair. It's taking place in Japan. I'm like, okay, all right, I can get into this. I like where this is going potentially. I would definitely read the synopsis, but yeah, I like it. But I finished Memory Police the other day, yesterday, and poof, what an amazing book. I literally cried at 2 points at the end. Like I was just listening and it was good. I was enjoying it. And at some point I realized that I wasn't going to get the ending, the outcomes, the questions answered that I wanted. But I understood that it's like, no, man, you're on rails here. The author has done such a good job, which is Yoko Ogawa. Has just done such a great job of doing like describing, painting this whole place, this whole picture, this whole island. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed where it took me, even when I cried, even when I was sad. And I'm like, God damn it, man, this is fucking me up, man. But overall, a really great read. I would definitely suggest it. So, like I said, I'm going from The Memory Police into Butter. And I'm satisfied. But yeah, let me go ahead and continue this startup. I was gonna put that on the Patreon, but I was like, I'll just talk about it on the pod. Oh, also I should say who Butter is by. Butter is by Asako Yuzuki. Like I said, so I'm recommending that book next. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But like I said, so far from the introduction, I like it, and I'm excited to get into that. Anyway, let's go ahead and start with that news. If it boots up for me. All right, from NBC News, Trump pauses Project Freedom in Strait of Hormuz, citing progress on Iran deal. All right. The ceasefire in the Middle East was in peril Tuesday after the U.S. and Iran traded fire and threats over President Donald Trump's new mission to force open the Strait of Hormuz. But Trump announced Tuesday evening that the effort to force the strait open, called Project Freedom, was being put on hold. And I think it's important to note, we're no longer talking about Operation Epic Fury or whatever the fuck. We're talking now about Project Freedom, which is a bit of I need to do a little bit of catch up here to make this fucking point. But during Hexeth's budget meeting or whatever for the Pentagon, it was asked, it's like, hey, you have to go to Congress like pretty much in like a day to, talk about this war, and, we're going to decide whether or not we're going to continue it. At least Congress is, right? And Hegseth goes, well, it's paused, so shouldn't it just be like reset or something? Like, obviously I'm paraphrasing this, but essentially they were citing an angle saying, no, we don't. Like, we're good. Like, actually the war is done. And so you can see that this language has now shifted where it's like, yeah, we're on a ceasefire. We're on a break. Like, it's on some fucking Friends shit, Rachel Ross shit. But it's like, no, we're at war. Like, you should have to go to Congress and report for this shit and talk about this shit. But really doesn't matter. They were supposed to go to Congress to get this war even greenlit in the first place, and they didn't fucking do it. So it's not like we'd actually expect them to play by the rules here. I think it's kind of funny that they're trying to like kind of hoodwink this over our eyes. It's like, dude, I'd rather you just tell me to fuck off. We're gonna do what we want than to do this shit. It is literally bar for bar the same shit that Russia does with Ukraine, where it's like, yeah, we have a special operation, not a war we've been doing for 5 years. Let's continue. Based on the request of Pakistan and other countries, the tremendous military success that we have had during the campaign against the country of Iran, additionally, the fact that great progress has been made toward a complete and final agreement with representatives of Iran, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Now, I kind of want to zoom ahead here a little bit, because essentially 2 U.S. flagged merchant vessels made it through the strait Monday, the U.S. military also said, with shipping giant Maersk confirming that one of its vehicle carriers was escorted out under U.S. military protection. So that essentially what was going on with this whole Project Freedom shit was Trump's like, okay, fuck it. Let's try to make some moves. Let's try to make a fucking push. And essentially they said, yeah, we're going to actually escort some ships through. Now, escort, I feel like we got to put that in quotations, because what exactly is that? I'm thinking in my head like, yeah, we're going to pull up a fucking big old warship or ship or something, like, come on, you're gonna play the fucking music, Bad Company, you insert music title here. No, I don't think it was that. I'm not sure, but I think it's like, hey, you're good to go. Big old boss hog Daddy Trump, he said you're good to go, come on through. Brother, they can shoot at you. Like, now, are they going to shoot at American, ships? Apparently not. That is essentially what is being touted here. That's kind of the run. So 2 ships made that happen, and that's about it. And then, in response, Iran said, okay, we're going to start shooting missiles at the UAE. So, sorry, like, the deal's a deal, and you're breaking it. You're fucking with it. And if we can't fuck with you, we will fuck with the people we can fuck with. We'll just shoot across the Gulf. So they did that. And Trump's like, all right, we done. We cool. Pause on that. Pause on Operation, Freedom. Project Freedom. Whatever, man. So, I mean, let's see. Secretary, let me read this part here. I think it's also a little bit insightful. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said at a news conference Tuesday that Operation Epic Fury, the U.S. military's name for the war with Iran, is over, and that the current military actions to help ships safely navigate the straits are not an offensive operation. The operation is over. Epic Fury is the president notified Congress. We're done with that, with that stage of it, okay? We're now on this project of freedom, Rubio said. It's like, brother, fuck you, dude. And it's so funny that they tout his ass out to say this stupid shit that he barely even knows is... He knows is wrong, for one, but he barely even knows what he's supposed to fucking say. He magoos this shit every other time anyway. So you know he's sweating over it. But then I love that he's talking about how, like, well, let's talk about the crimes that Iran's doing in terms of, like, mining the strait. Brother, no one's playing fair here. What the fuck are we talking about? What rules? We are literally just blatantly just sidestepping our own fucking rules to conduct this fucking war. Like, what are you talking about? Be so fucking for real, dude. There was one official who, Iranian official, who called this is not Project Freedom. He said this is Project Lockdown. Or Deadlock. I knew I was going to fuck that up, but it's Project Deadlock. I was like, that's pretty nice. You kind of snappy with that. Also, Trump has called on South Korea, which we'll be talking about a little bit in this episode later. Trump has called on South Korea to join the mission on Truth Social as he blamed Iran for taking some shots at the ship. Seoul said it was reviewing Trump's proposal. They're like, yeah, we'll look that over, dog. Yeah, big homie, we got you. We're thinking about jumping in, for sure. We're contemplating that. Like, man, no one wants to do that shit, man. But no, in terms of the shit with the UAE, they engaged 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, and 4 drones fired from Iran. So they just hit him with the little barrage. They're like, you want to get frisky? Then we'll get frisky. You know we should not engage with you. That fucks with the ceasefire. It's definitely an escalation. We don't want that. But you're escalating on us right now, so we're going to do something to kind of hit the scale. So that's what they fucking did. So yeah, I love that. There's a little Iran war update. Let's see. Let's go ahead and move along. Let me take a little water break. All right, from NBC News. 2 dead, 3 injured in shooting at Korean supermarket near Dallas. A business meeting ended in gunfire on Tuesday, killing at least 2 people and injuring 3 at a Korean supermarket outside of Dallas, police said. The injured were listed in stable condition following the shooting in front of Gwangjang Korean Market in Coralton, about 25 miles north of downtown Dallas. Coralton Police Chief Roberto Arredondo told reporters. A male suspect, 69-year-old Sung Hang Ho, was taken into custody after a short foot chase, police said. Officers were dispatched to the shooting in the 40,000 block of State Highway 121, police said. Currently, there is no immediate threat to the public. This was a meeting with the suspect for a business purpose, Arredondo said. This was not a random act of gunfire. They also go on to further say that this wasn't a hate crime, which I totally get in these, in these times. You gotta say, hey, for what it was, this was just a business meeting gone wrong, terribly wrong. But yeah, obviously unfortunate, sad situation. But yeah, I wanted to go ahead and cover that one. Speaking of another sad situation, from CNN, manhunt underway for Special Forces veteran with extensive survival training accused of shooting his wife. Investigators from several agencies are scouring the woods of northwestern Tennessee for an armed Special Forces veteran suspected of trying to kill his wife, the Stewart County Sheriff's Office said Tuesday. Craig Berry, 53, has been on the run since early Friday after he shot his wife in Dover, Tennessee, near the Kentucky border, said Stewart County Sheriff Frankie Gray. The suspect fled into the woods near the residence before deputies arrived, the sheriff's office has said. A trail camera captured an image believed to be of Berry wearing camouflage clothing, Gray told CNN on Tuesday, and Berry hasn't been seen since. I wish I had that picture up, but it really wouldn't have shown who he was. But it's just an odd picture of like a blurry man like running. But I will say, speaking of odd, I don't know how like the picture's just slanted weird. Every like outlet has that picture, and I'm like, oh, it's so annoying because it's just kind of weirdly off-putting to me how it's just off kilter like that. But it is what it is. Obviously really bad man, but it's giving like evil Jason Bourne. Like he just has like special training. Like I don't know, it's something out of like a Tom Clancy movie or something. He's like a C villain or something. But obviously very bad guy, and he is now on the run. Which was another draw, I guess you could say, for the story. Like I said, I mean, it's unfortunate. There are a lot of shooting situations that happen. I talked about this in the previous episode. It is hard to cover all of them. But, having these kind of distinguishing things of like a manhunt, it's a guy with special forces training that does get headlines, that does get my attention. So I figured, hey, we're going to talk about it. We'll probably come back to the story to cover more on it in the future. I'm hoping they capture this guy soon, and hopefully he does not, hurt anyone else. But yeah. See, yeah, I'm looking at the picture right now. It's like a blurry thing. Like you would almost look like this could be like cryptid. It's giving cryptid, but obviously, we know better. But, yeah, obviously feel free to look into that, Craig Barry, if you want to see the picture. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on. This is going to be one of our last stories. Technically we have one more after this, but I'm going to probably just hit that quick. Kind of local-ish, kind of just election, yada, yada, rah, rah. But anyway, I wanted to talk about Samsung, which I gotta say up top, I fuck with Samsung as a brand, as a product. Call me a fucking nerd, call me a fucking geek, I don't care. I don't know, ever since I started fucking with Samsung phones, I'm like, I like this. I'm a Galaxy enjoyer. That being said, fuck fucking Samsung, but let's go ahead and get into it. From the BBC, Samsung families pay off record $8 billion inheritance tax bill. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Why did you say fuck Samsung? And it sounds like they're paying money for taxes. It sounds like they're paying their taxes. A lot of billionaires, a lot of billionaire groups or whatever, they don't do that shit, right? But I'll lay my 2 cents on the table. I'll get there. The family behind the South Korean corporate giant Samsung has completed its payment of a 12 trillion won, or $8 billion inheritance tax bill, the largest such settlement in the country's history. Chairman Lee Jae-yong and other members of the family, including his mother, Hong Ra-hee, and sisters Lee Bu-jin and Lee Sui-hong, paid the sum in 6 installments over the last 5 years. So I guess they've just been kind of paying off into this. The bill is tied to the estate left by the firm's late chairman Lee Kun-hee, who died in 2020. Let's see here. Samsung is South Korea's biggest chaebol, or family-owned business, with operations spanning electronics, heavy industry, construction, and financial services. Now, this shit runs deep. I don't know, and I never described this well, but it is one of those things where it's like, it feels like if we had like robber barons of yore or whatever, and they just had power over a whole ass nation state, and they could just get to keep doing that always and always and always. There was never any real regulations to stop them from doing that. And now it's like, yeah, the country needs us. Our family in and of itself is a conglomerate, and we are too big to fucking fail. We aren't just like some big company that you come and you work at. We're in your homes. Like, we pay for the whole home. We have the whole fucking, like, you come here, you live here, you work here. It's all so synchronized in one way, shape, or form. And it's like, it almost feels almost ergonomic, but it's like, no, you are almost like an indentured part of the company. And that to me is always so jarring about how just naked it is when you look at it. And once again, I'm describing this so fucking terribly and poorly from my shitty ass armchair that also broke down more so recently, which I'm not happy about. But hey, we move, we rock, we roll. But it is just one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'm glad that they're paying their $8 billion tax inheritance fee. These motherfuckers got, I think, $45.5 billion as a fucking whole family, like their net worth. So yeah, I think they're going to be fine. It sounds like a big number when you don't have anything. And it's like, yeah, at 50%, South Korea's inheritance tax rate is among the highest in the world. Cool. And I know that if you heard some shit like that in America, they'd be treating you like you were communist. They'd be talking like, wow, that's crazier than California. Which there's some, election stuff on the ballot coming down the pipe for that stuff, like proposition wise for taxing billionaires, which people are literally coming out of their skin like, we're leaving the state immediately. Like, bro, so it's like, Cool. It's cool to see billionaires pay some money. But when you look at the situation coming out of Samsung, it's just not really impressive. It's not, it doesn't even feel like a drop in the fucking bucket for what they should be fucking paying. For literally, the fact of the matter is that once again, they are just literally just making all this money off the backs, off the blood, off the souls of all of these people, off all the people in South Korea, man. That's just crazy to me. And obviously, it's not just the Samsung family. I think I have it queued up here. There's some other names. Hyundai. Was it SK? I'm not familiar, but I'm sure if I looked into it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I know that or whatever. LG, that's a known one in like tech or whatever. I'm sure you got maybe an LG refrigerator or phone, whatever the fuck. TV, there you go. That's one. So yeah, man. The shit is just always gonna be icky to me, man. I know we live in a capitalist society. I be saying that shit, but it just sucks to see that shit so naked that we're like almost giving these guys a flower for paying their taxes. Cool, man. RIP, congrats on your inheritance. Whatever, man. Like, yuck, dude. Anyway, let me go ahead and get off of this subject. Let me go ahead and do our last break. We gotta bring it on back to Ohio. We gotta talk a little politics. We're gearing up for the midterms. Closing out, I'm going to talk a little bit about weather. It is going to be not just cold, not just, we got that little spring chill still in a fucking May situation, but also the April showers are just going into May. So much of them fucking flowers. It's just going to be raining all week. Which, I mean, hey, I know there's gloomy enjoyers out there. I was like literally like with the carpool situation, the person I was taking home from work, they're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be rainy. Yeah, it's nice and chill. It's like, I'm thinking about them like, yeah, that sounds really nice when you don't have to drive in it. And granted, it's not like it's raining cats and dogs or whatever. I'm really just being a sourpuss. I'm a grumpy guy. And like, it just always feels like Parasite now. Like ever since I saw that, I'm like, no, that makes so much fucking sense. People think that the rain is enjoyable. That shit is not enjoyable when you have to work in it. When you have to live in it. It's not just cozy, lo-fi chill sounds, okay? But don't get me wrong, I do like the rain still. But I just don't like being out and about getting wet. Blech. Blech. But watch Parasite. That's a good movie ref. Or recommendation. I meant rec. All right, let's take a quick look at this fucking election shit. Ohio did some, you could go out to vote today, and I actually was like, getting home doing my research, and I saw, let me just take a quick gander at the polls and see what's going on. They're like, shit's already closed up pretty much. And I was like, okay, all right, so we got some results from ABC6. Vivek Ramaswamy wins Ohio primary, will face Amy Action for governor. So this was like the big one, the big takeaway for the Ohio one. There's more details in terms of like, I think Indiana also had elections as well to set up for primaries. I don't really want to get into the weeds about it. The Vivek Ramaswamy one was probably the biggest and also the most annoying because it affects where I live, the state where I live. Obviously, I fucking don't like DeWine. I get why people are boo, fuck DeWine. You know what I mean? When it was during COVID, whatever, I at least liked he was like trying to like do what was best. At least that's what he was saying. Like, okay, even though people were like, I want to go outside. I hate this man. Hey, he made some decisions. He tried to stand on that shit. I would at least give him that. But like, obviously, how he's handled the weed shit has been fucking terrible. Fuck this guy. Obviously, there's a slew of other reasons I'm sure we could go over and yada 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 about. Blah blah blah. Whatever. I would hate for the replacement to be Vivek Ramaswamy, dude. Like, what the fuck? It would be so wild for him to like bumble butt his way through a fucking presidential, knowing his ass isn't gonna fucking win. but then actually pull it off so he gets a governor seat in his hometown of fucking Ohio, dude. Boo. Fucking boo, dude. Like, we already have JD Vance on our fucking jacket. Do we really have to have this too? Please, Lord. Please. No. But it's possible. Vivek Ramaswamy has won the gubernatorial primary and will represent the Republican Party in November against Dr. Amy Action. Or I'm making her name cooler than it is. I'm sorry. Amy Acton. Ramaswamy has been endorsed by both President Donald Trump and the Ohio Republican Party. He faced a long shot primary challenge from Casey Push, an automotive entrepreneur and internet personality. What a cool sounding guy. Even though I love that Bernie Moreno was also like an automotive guy, like car salesman, owner, whatever the fuck, like, and Bitcoin dude, and he got his spot. He beat out Sherrod Brown, who is also going to be running, again, come midterms. So I guess we're rooting for Sherrod Brown, and I don't have big beef against Sherrod Brown. I know sometimes he will make capitulations because he's trying to stay, keep his seat, do what he can do, but it's like, why am I seeing you driving around in a boat saying you're doing shit about immigration? You're not, and everyone knows you're not on that aspect. You're supposed to be doing good things about immigration, not LARPing what you're saying you're doing right now. But okay, whatever. I know I'm crying about shit, and I shouldn't be. But yeah, he's gonna be running, and that's a good thing. Like, no, I'm not being very nice. The Associated Press declared Ramaswamy the winner just minutes after polls closed in Ohio at 7:30 p.m. Tuesday. So that shit was definite. And like I said, I mean, there's more details, yada, 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 we could go through. Maybe we will go through as the dust settles, the details emerge, and it's like, oh, that's more relevant than I thought. I know in Maine, I know there's going to be a big race because that's going to, be defining for seats in Congress. And I'm sure in the future we'll get to that. But I'm pinning that on the board or whatever. You can go look into that if you're curious what the fuck I'm even talking about. Who knows? But that's right. That's it. That's all I'm going to talk about for today. I'm done yapping. My yap meter has hit it. If you like to help, if you'd like to help out the effort, support the effort. Yeah, that's right. You want to become a newsie today? Well, you can. Patreon.com/AZnews. Let's see, you get on the roll call, like I said, sometimes I yap in my little notes, just random things I either didn't mention in the podcast or didn't feel like mentioning in the podcast. Let's see, there's some old archived episodes if you want to look into those. But yeah, otherwise just a tip jar. But yeah, free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a cool comment, a fun comment. Helpful critiques are fine. I read them, and if they're not bad, I keep them. But don't be mean. I think all comments are good for the algorithm and stuff. But cool, good job. That's nice. I like that. I like it at that. But you don't have to. Like I said, I really just appreciate people just coming through and just listening. You don't got to do the 5 stars. I know I mentioned that too. Would you kindly? It'd be nice if you did. But if not, hey, I really just appreciate you tuning in. So yeah, hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.